Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I'm trying something new. This is some paper that I got in probably a couple months ago, but I haven't had a chance to use it yet. It's the Arteza Hot Press 100% cotton paper, so I thought I'd give that a try. Just first impression, I just took the plastic off. It came with little corner bumpers on there so that, you know, your pad doesn't get damaged in shipping, which is nice, especially with the way Amazon has been shipping things lately. And the paper is 140 pound. It is a little bit not as bright white as the traditional Arches. I would call it kind of like a natural white, but just a little bit more yellow. And I also want to use, speaking of yellow, this yellow set of watercolors because these have been on sale. Now, I bought these for, I think it was about $22 back in January. And for $22, I thought this was a steal. And they sold out like right after I posted my review. And so I went looking to see if I could find them anywhere. And I found them on AliExpress for like 60 something, $64 I think for this set. Which I think is too much for this set. But for $22, I was thrilled. And then I just saw it yesterday on Amazon on sale for $21. And then there was a $5 off coupon. So $16. And they had it in yellow, pink, and blue of the 36 set size. And they had the, I think they had the 24 set size for like $1 less. So I don't know. The tin is not the sturdiest thing. When I first got it, didn't know how to get it to latch because it was kind of warped, but I was able to just kind of close it and press down on the top, and that made it so that it would latch and it would stay closed on me. It comes with a swatch card, which is nice, so you don't have to make your own. And it also comes with some postcards, which I already painted and did in some demos. So I have a review on that if you want to see, and then like a little brochure about it. But I thought for $16, it's a great option for teachers that want to outfit a class. You have to buy multiple palettes. Also good for students you just want a backup set to travel with. I don't know if it'd be the best gift option because like my box came a little damaged. The paint was fine, but the box came a little bit damaged, so it probably wouldn't be the best thing to buy as a gift. But I mean, unless you want to take it out of the box and just give the palette as a gift. I just wanted to mention that just because I have a feeling that these kind of come on the market cheaply because maybe they're like seconds, factory seconds. I don't know if they're selling the top quality ones on Ali for, usually I don't hear about top quality stuff on AliExpress, but maybe they're selling the top quality ones on Ali for $65 and these are the seconds. Like if the tin is warped or whatever, at least they can sell it for something. But anyway, I'm really happy with these, and I thought it would be fun to use them. So what we're going to do for a project is actually this little potted arrangement I got for Mother's Day, and as my husband likes to joke that days are numbered because this plant is now in my care. But I love this little kind of like string of pearl succulent here, and it's got some little, I don't even know what these are called, but they're cute, and I want to paint it before I kill it inadvertently. I don't know. How do I kill succulents? They're supposed to be like the most easy to to keep plants. But I'm just going to grab a couple of watercolor pencils here. I got a green one and I have a kind of Payne's gray color. They're both Albright Drewer pencils, indigo and what is this? This is a super color actually. And I can't read that. Khaki green maybe. And I'm just going to do a real quick sketch. You could sketch with whatever you want. I think I've got a little smudge on my paper already. Sometimes something I've noticed with the Arteza papers is like the top sheet sometimes will be a little dingy or scratched or something, and then after you get beyond that, you're fine. I don't know if I like how tall the little vessel that my plants are in. So I think I might make it a little bit more squat and then make my succulents a little bit larger actually, kind of make it, you can make things look a little bit cuter sometimes. You make things kind of more stubby and plump. I'm going to do, let's see, it's got a nice little kind of like a square. Maybe I'll turn it a little bit. I think it might look better if I have it a little bit turned. I don't know, I'm looking at it both ways. I have it sitting on a, I'll take a picture of it and put it on my blog or on my Instagram or something. Maybe have it facing on, have it kind of come out at like a really strong perspective. Again, getting that kind of chunky cuteness going. Simplifying the shapes a little bit. Drawing this darker than you need to because I want to make sure you can see it. Now my trick of tricks whenever I'm doing something symmetrical is I turn it upside down. because I have difficulty. I probably shouldn't have put that so close to the bottom of the paper, but that's all right. I'll just have to be real. If I decide to mat and frame it, I'll just need to make sure that I have it scooched up as far as I can. You could cover a multitude of sins when you frame a picture, because like if you got something a little crooked, then all you got to do is like kind of shift it. You gotta, fix as many a crooked lighthouse. You just kind of turn it under the mat so that you get that nice nice look. I'm gonna have this more of like a bowl shape than a urn shape, just because I think it just will look better with my succulent. Oh, you know what? I got all this space up here too. Maybe I will actually make it a little bit taller because I've got all this space now, and that way I can make my like little dangly pearl plants a little bit longer. All right. Bring that out a little bit more on the side. All right, so the string of pearls. Is that going to show up on camera? I might have to go with the darker. Yeah, I think I need to go with the darker green because I don't think that's going to show up for you so much. So I'll just go with this kind of, this is called jungle green. I have a mishmash of watercolor pencils in here. Let's maybe let's put our little, I want to get some tendrils kind of coming out there. Move that whole arm. Let's get a workout while we're at it. You get the little pearlies get smaller. Actually got a couple little strands. It just says a couple. You don't even have to draw all these in. Just kind of get yourself a good idea about what you want to have going on. Looks reminds you of bubbles coming out of a glass of champagne or something. Like a couple overlap the edges. Oh, and if you're not so sure about your symmetrical sides, whether this is symmetrical or not, just add a few dangles and you'll be good to go. I think I'll grab a kind of a pinkish purpley color to do this little plant here. I'm actually going to make it taller than it is because let's pretend I can grow things. Fantasy Lindsay has gardened this plant. I know they can get big like this. I just haven't personally experienced it. And I'm going to paint this real loose, so, just get your drawing in as much as you need it to be in to be able to go from. I want this one a little plump. I like my plump plants, because I always have spindly, leggy things. Now, could I be a little more leggy and my plants be a little more plump? Because could we make that trade? That would be great. It looks like a pine cone. It really looks like a pine cone. I think that I'm going to go in with just the gray to put these little spiky things in there, because I'm just going to, yeah, I'll do that with a paint. Okay, look at that. We're in business. So something I like to do, I'm just going to shift that. Why don't I just zoom out just a smidgen? Something I like to do when I am doing a real loose painting is I will take my clean water and I will flick on some water. And I probably should have taped this down, but I'm not going to do a completely wet painting. I'm not going to wet the background totally. At least I don't plan to at this point. And the reason I like to do that is because it automatically helps break things up, so that when things start to touch the water, if I go and I bring in some paint, it's going to like kind of explode in random ways. And I find that like to get looseness, some of the best ways is just to kind of take yourself out of the equation and let like fate have at it. All right, so let's see, what colors do I want to use? I think I'm going to use a little bit of this burnt umber color. Now these are like the Pretty Excellent paints, so if you have a set of the Pretty Excellents, which have actually gone up in price, these seem to be identical. They have the same color numbers and everything. So if you like the Pretty Excellents, the nice thing about these is that they all are in their own individual half pans. This is Burnt Sienna and Ultramarine Blue mixed together. They have their own half pans, so if you want to pop some out and put them in a smaller palette, you can put these in standard tins. They're a little bigger though. The height is the same, but they're more square than rectangle, so I think they're actually a little bit bigger than like the traditional half pans, so that's kind of nice. But you can fit them in a regular tin because the height is the same. You might not be able to fit, you might be able to fit 5 across instead of 6, depending on the size of your tin, but it will work. All right, I think I'm going to spatter in a little bit of that as well. And plus, I can do that for adding some texture, like a little granity texture on there. I could also spatter. But these colors granulate. Even though I'm hot pressed paper, it might not granulate quite as well. I still kind of like that. I still kind of like to have that spatter. And I am going to put I'm going to try to put a relatively straight table line in there. I like to situate my things, give the bottom of the painting a little bit of visual weight and interest. I also think I want to put some colors that I'll be using in the painting itself into the image. So I'm going to go with this kind of permanent rose color. These are gorgeous. I think I need to order myself, before you guys get to it, I'm ordering myself a backup of this. I think I do like this paint a lot. Yeah, I don't know why it's so inexpensive. I mean, I really don't. And I mean, when I paid $22, I thought I'd gotten the deal of a century. And I mean, I hope they haven't changed the quality or anything. They look identical. I think I might grab a pink tin because I like the yellow. The yellow is really pretty. That's the one I'll link to. But you can, they also have the pink in there. They're all pretty. I think, you know what? I'm also going to add some turquoise. This doesn't have like a cobalt turquoise in it, but it does have this pretty, like kind of like phthalo turquoisey color in there. So that's not going to granulate or anything, but it's pretty. And I probably have this a little wet for something that I haven't taped down, but it's fine. Oh, the brushes I'm using, by the way, are my, they're not out yet, but they will be out this summer. They'll be out in July. It's a collaboration I'm doing with Craft Ammo. I picked the fibers. They have 2 different kinds of fibers. These are the prototypes. They're all going to have this beautiful ruby red handle. I've got 4 have Taklon bristles where I wanted a springier brush, and then 2 have faux squirrel bristles where I wanted a really absorbent brush. And I was able to pick the brush lengths and everything. So fun. I can't wait till they're available. I just got the brush artwork, the box artwork done. So I'm using the big absorbent round. This is probably about a 20 round. Because I know I'm not going to get too fussy with it, and I can put lots of paint without having to reload. So big belly and longer bristles, but it does come to a really nice point. So if you want to do like those tendrils, you can, or you could switch to the liner brush if you're more comfortable that way. Probably once that sets up, I'll go in with that turquoisey color and add some edges and whatnot. I might even try this kind of like hooker's green. I feel like this planter should have like a face on it. Have you ever seen those like pots that have like faces? That would be cute. That's like somebody's hair. That would be fun. And then I can also put some of these little spikies. When you don't want a lot of water though, you don't want to use these black bristle brushes because they're going to hold a lot of water. If you want to, like if you're using gouache, I recommend a golden Taklon brush because they're springier, they don't hold as much water, and they'll push around that thicker paint better. Also, if you just don't want to get so much water in your mix. These reactivate really well, but if you're using like say Cotman paints, they take a little bit more coaxing to get out of the pan. You can use a stiffer brush and it will help you kind of work up the color into a lather, so you can get a little bit more color. I didn't pre-spray these or anything. I took them off the shelf. I hadn't used them in a while, which I mean, that's the other thing. It's like, Lindsay, should I really buy more where like for a quote unquote backup when I have so much paint already? But it's like, man, it's such a good deal. Do you ever do that? Do you ever like buy something again because it's such a good deal and it's like less than you paid for it for the beginning, but it's like, I want to have a backup. Oh, it's awful, isn't it? I don't feel bad that I paid $22 for this because I mean, I probably wouldn't trust that they were any good if I saw them for like $16, you know? I'd just be like, well, maybe I'll buy it for the tin because the tin is cute. But I wouldn't buy it for the tin just because the tins, I have a feeling that's why they're inexpensive. So I'm going to switch to, this. This is a number 8 round. It is a Taklon, so it's going to be less, it'll hold a thicker paint, basically. Gotta get enough water in there though to get it going. I think I'm going to double load it. I'm going to load it with a sap green, and then I'll pick up, oh, you know what? I'll pick up some of this phthalo green. Well, this is going to be real pasty, but I've got a lot of water there already, so I'm going to let my bristles splay and try to make some individual little jabs. I'm going to tip my painting around too at some point and let the paints kind of flow. I'm making this way wilder and woollier than the original, but than my arrangement, because I want to let the paint do its thing. I want to have those little surprises. I'm not seeing any red flags with the Arteza paper either. I mean, I have to see what it costs. I think it's kind of expensive, to be honest, so I don't know if I'm going to recommend it or not. And I don't even know if it's in stock because Arteza stuff goes out of stock so quickly. I don't know why. I'm going to take a look at some of these purples here and see what we've got. We've got that pretty mauve. Oh, we've got something that looks like, let's see, this is Ultramarine Violet. I wonder if there's a pigment number on that, if I can read it, if there is. No, actually, it's, this is called Dioxazine. Violet doesn't look that dioxazine-y to me. Maybe it has some fillers in it. They're calling this one mauve or mauve. That's Purple Lake. I always think of that color more as mauve, but I think that Verditer Blue, it kind of looks like mid ultramarine from Derwent, like their Light Fast pencils. I think I want to play with that. I think that might have a little bit of granulating effect, and I think that would be nice just to capture that hazy look of some of these petals, you know, that waxy hazy look that they have. Now this is the cat's tongue. I love this brush because it holds tons of paint, and you can get little details, and you can also like lay down a lot. I think this would be fun too, to add like watercolor crayon or oil pastel over, because with succulents have that kind of like waxy bloom to them, like they're you know, their petals have that kind of like waxy finish. I think that would be fun to do with a pastel or a crayon. Okay, some yellow would be really pretty in here with all the colors I have going. Oh, I think I'm gonna take some of that. Which blue did I use? I think it was this one. Yeah, I really should have taped that down. Let's see. Let's do a nice, oh, what kind of yellow do I want? Do I want like a yellow ochre, or do I want something more vibrant? I think I'll go with like a raw sienna. It's a little more transparent than a yellow ochre, but not super bright. And you know what? I think I'm going to apply it, then maybe spray it. Maybe add a little bit of that rose in there as well. Let me get my little spray bottle. I'm not using my continuous mist sprayer because I do not want to, I really want to direct where this is going. Okay, yeah. Don't worry about the mess. So what I love about mixed media, you really don't need to worry. If you are, when you do mixed media, you've always got something else you can add to that painting. I love that, like, kind of permanent rose color. That might be a little strong. Let's water that down a bit. I like how that's almost looking like a patina on the pot. Oh, you know what? I love the thought of doing a patina on the pot. Let's let me finish my little drippy stuff up here, but I like that idea a lot. So I think I'm going to do some burnt sienna and maybe make like a little coppery color. So basically, we're painting a background, really. So let's see, if I wanted to do a patina color, I would get in some brown. Yep, should have taped this down. Word to the wise, guys. Tape your paper down. I was planning on doing this in a sketchbook, actually, but I didn't have one of my rosy ones within reach, so I'm like, I'll try this paper. I was looking at my table where I have all my stuff. I'm like, I'll use this one for right now. Now let's do, cobalt teal would be ideal, but I don't have that in this palette. So I'm going to take this turquoise and this that Verditor blue, and I'm also going to take some white. So we're going to make a milky, I should actually be digging this up with a stiffer brush, but, and this is a Chinese white. It's not really, it's not an opaque white, it's more of a mixing white. Need that to be a little bit greener. I'm going to switch brushes. Let's use this one. Let's see, I'll add a little bit of that phthalo green. They call it Viridian Hue, which is phthalo green. Actually, no, do they call it hue or blue? It's so far, my swatch is so far away I can't really tell. I know that's somebody's going to be freaking out over that. Don't worry about that. I'll just wipe off that top layer. Alright, let's add some patina in there. I don't need any white highlights on that. Now, if you're working on a cold press paper and you really want to push that granulation effect, let it dry naturally. Don't speed it up with like a heat tool or a hair dryer. Just let it do its thing, let it dry, and you will find the most marvelous textures when you come back. Now let's see, what black is that? It's lamp black. Too bad that wasn't Mars black, because I think that would have a really pretty granulation if it was. I'm just going to look at my swatches here and see if anything really jumps out as being granulating color. Maybe the sepia. There isn't a lot of granulation here. Even the ultramarine's pretty smooth. So, you know, if you are looking for something that's going to granulate, a palette's going to granulate, this is not, I mean, it will a little bit. You can see where the burnt umber and the ultramarine have mixed. There's some granulation there, but it's not going to be like, you know, wowza granulation or anything. It's going to be like, okay, there's a little bit there, but, you know, it's not going to be, that impressive. What color is that? That's not what I want. Let's get a little bit more of the turquoisey color in there. This paper, okay, so I got this way wetter than I had originally intended. Oh, I like that little peaks of pink that's happening in there too. Oh, you know what? I see a little bit of yellow in there. I think I want a little bit of that raw sienna. Raw sienna can granulate a little bit too, so that might help if you're looking to get some texture. I mean, we've got a lot of colors here. I'm not like getting mud, other than I have neutral browns in there where I want them. Okay, I'm also going to take that raw sienna. Raw sienna is a little bit more transparent than yellow ochre in general. Don't worry about soggy edges. You know, we'll fix it all. Don't worry. Now, before things dry up, I am going to go in and add a little bit of definition on some of the pearls here. Go around, and then if I reload my brush, I'm going to grab a different green that I've already used, and that's going to help me get variety. But everything's going to be merging together, so I'm not worried about I'm not going to worry about everything. And if you see an edge you really like, then leave it. You don't need to change it if you don't want to. Taking a little bit of that phthalo, well, they call it viridian hue. I'm going to take some of that with that kind of olivey color I had on my brush and just kind of add in some of these little spiky guys. Now I'm switching color. I'm reloading, so I'm just going to reload in a different color using the Taklon brush. Now this has long bristles, so it does hold quite a bit of paint. But if you're not used to longer bristled rounds, you may find them to be a little bit more difficult to control. I actually didn't know if, when I first started working with this company, they sent me a set, and they do only vegan brushes, so only synthetics, and they sent me a set, and I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work for me. These brushes are the bristles are too short, and I'm sorry if my hand gets in the way. I like to hold my brush straight up and down when I want to get work on the tip of it and get finer lines. I'm like, I don't think this is going to work. He's like, no, you can customize the fibers, and you can customize the length, And when they were telling me about the soft black absorbent brushes, and I'm like, they've got to be synthetic. And like, we only do synthetic, so it's like, oh wow, okay. So that was really just a really great match. And when I wasn't happy with the length of two of the brushes, you know, they sent me new prototypes. So I mean, there was no like, you know, cheapening out. There was no like, oh, we can't do that, Lindsay, that's gonna be too expensive. They were like, okay, let us know what you need. I'm gonna take a little ultramarine blue. With pan paint, you don't have to be as scared of contaminating the paint, because you just wipe off the top layer when you're done. You can even throw a little, oh, let's throw a little salt in this while everything is so juicy. That would be kind of cool. You put a little bit more color in before I do that, because I just, you know, for the salt effect to work, you've got to have quite a bit of paint there, so I want to make sure I have plenty in there before I do that. And then I will let it dry while I go have some lunch, and then come back and we'll see what we got. I really like the yellow, the raw sienna here. This is, you know, this is a really good set. I think I need to order a backup before I post this video when you guys clean them out. Okay, let's throw some salt on there. Kosher salt, table salt, doesn't really matter. They might give you slightly different effects, but they're all going to be very, you know what, I'm just going to... That will help us give it that nice, that granity texture. All right, time for lunch. Let's let that dry, and we'll be back. I know it looks like a mess, doesn't it? Trust me, we'll be fine. Okay, we're back. Now what I have done here is I scraped off the salt, and this was so wrinkly, I took it into the other room and I ironed it. So what I did was I have a little ironing board and a craft iron that it's an old iron I just use for craft projects. I put a piece of copy paper down, the oversized copy paper. I put this down face down, then I put another piece of copy paper on top, and I ironed it on high dry setting, and it made it nice and flat, and it's perfect. I wanted to do this now before I went and added any pastel to it. You could use oil pastel, you could use chalk pastel. I'm going to use watercolor crayon because I just really like watercolor crayon. I actually have a new course on watercolor crayon, the watercolor crayon workshop. I'll link it down below if you are interested, but I'm just going to go ahead and add to this. I'm not sure how much I'm going to put on here. I'm looking at my, I'm here looking at my bouquet, bouquet, potted plant, whatever you want to call it. I'm just looking for some like highlights, and I'm kind of making some stuff up too, because I have the way that my lights are set up in here, I think I'll put a ridge right up here, this little kind of urn. This mine doesn't have that, but I think that looks kind of nice. The way that my lights are set up in here are for filming and for even lighting over my my workspace, so it's not like I didn't set up a proper still life. Like if I'm going to do like a still life and photograph it and stuff, then I pull in a directional light right on the surface and that sort of thing. But since I just kind of have it sitting on my table, kind of using it as a bit of inspiration, I wasn't too fussy. What I think I might do is actually make a really light edge here and then bring that dark into the background or something. I think that might be kind of cool. So I will be going back. I will be going back to that. I think I had way too much water when I came down after having my lunch. There was such a puddle. This was like where I'm circling with my finger. It was just a huge puddle. Like, oh, that's not good. So I do have some salt texture, but not very much right there. So I think what I'm going to do, I actually do have a little bit of a light over there. So I think if I lighten up this side and then bring some of that color spilling over as a background, I think that actually would look kind of cool. And because I have lighting from both sides, my studio lighting, I'm going to add a little bit of light on either side and a little bit on this surface area here. want to keep some of the colors and textures I already have. I want to add some with my crayons. You know, I'm just gonna play, really. Now I'm gonna do those little pearls, get some of those, maybe fill it in a little bit more. They're kind of like grapes. Projects like this are so fun and satisfying because you can really go wild. Like, I love how the colors kind of bled over there. So there's certain areas that I'm not going to want to do anything to, and then there's areas where I'm really going to want to kind of zhuzh up a little bit. These will dissolve with the water, so when I go back in with watercolor, I don't have to worry about, you know, there being a compatibility issue, which is really nice. And I can be really whimsical with my colors as well. The watercolor crayons are kind of like a stick of gouache. They're very opaque. If I use them like this though, and I don't like fill in, then they'll be more like a watercolor pencil. But if I put them in thickly, it'll be like a gouache or even like an oil paint kind of. So you get a lot of versatility from it. I think it's a lot of fun. I love the different colors that are available, like these fun teals. There's lots of beautiful pastels because they are an opaque medium, so you can get those fun pastels that you wouldn't get in traditional watercolor. Ooh, I could do some little patina here that I was going for. Oh, this is one of these projects where I started off with one idea and the project went a whole other way, and now I don't know if it's going to be too long for YouTube. So let me know in the comments below. I guess if you're still watching it, which probably most people aren't, let me know if these longer tutorials are worth it for you, if it's worth your time. Let me know if it's not as well, because I could take the longer footage and put it elsewhere if it's not something you guys want here on YouTube. There, I'm starting to build some structure back on there. I like that. I want to go right in though and do some darker. I decided just to clip down my paper. I might regret not going in and stretching it, but I like what that's doing, and I want to bring some more of that dark out. Sometimes you just gotta go with what you like the looks of. Oh, I think I'm gonna do some more blue. I love that turquoise. That's this one right here. Can work. Some of that brown. I also want some ultramarine blue in there. Gosh, I'm gonna have to time lapse this. I don't want to make my paper wrinkle again. But sometimes you gotta do it. Ooh, that's a pretty color. Sometimes I like to have like a sloppy edge and then let it diffuse out and then have it finish up with some spatters. I carry some of that blue over there. Bring some of the dark over. I'm going to stand up and look down at this to make sure that I've got that ledge kind of equal. Still a little bit of warping on this. I wouldn't iron it after adding the watercolor crayons on it, but you're pretty safe to do it after, you know, if it's just watercolor. I've never heard anything doing that, but then again, notice how I did it when it was at the pinnacle of the hot mess stage. Now on this side, I think I'll do some pink spatters. I love this color. Isn't that gorgeous? I think I need to get like a second set of this just to have, like, just to take some of those colors and add them to other sets that don't have like good pinks and I think I want a little yellow in there too. This is completely intuitive. Completely intuitive, and I love it. I will say it's kind of difficult to chit chat while I'm while I'm doing this, because it's like because it's like trying to think and trying to just kind of experience the painting is it's kind of difficult, to be honest. I want to make that drippy. Hopefully I'm staying in camera. I've kind of lost, I've run out of a lot of space on my table. I'm going to flick. I know some people don't like the spatter. I think it's just like, as long as you know why you're doing the spatter, you're doing it to add rhythm or texture or pattern to an area. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I love mixed media because I like the movement and the color and the energy of abstract, but at the end of the day, I also really love representational painting. So it allows me to start off really kind of wild and then go more realistic at the end. I like that. I also feel like I need, let's see, we've got light. We got light on either side. I've got a little bit more shadow on this side, so I think a little bit of shadow over to that side. Even though you get 36 colors here, it's still great to mix your colors because then you'll get a more cohesive look. All right. I could take the dipping into that blue. I mean to get this blue next to it. I could take that and mix it in with the red, that kind of rose color, and make an inky dark tone that we can use. We can use in the pot itself. To build up some density. Like that's getting a little crooked. I'm kind of just smushing stuff around here, making a bit more of a solid appearance to the urn. If I was doing like a watercolor crayon, like from the Watercolor Crayon workshop, I would be using a Taklon brush because I'd want to have it more thick and opaque, but here I'm using the faux squirrel, which is softer and more absorbent, because I'm kind of going more for like the watercolor properties. So, you know, I like watercolor crayons because it's such a versatile medium that you can do something thick and opaque. You can also do something ethereal. Catching edges, catching the light, I like. I like that mix of the rose and the turquoise. My little pinecone succulent. I'm gonna get some, oh, you know what, I'm gonna clean that white off. There we go. I think I'm gonna actually use that with some of this lemony yellow. Add that to some of my pearly, bubbly succulents. Boy, this is just going to be a really quick loose painting, and I've kind of gone a little overboard. That's okay though. I'm going to put some tendrils in. Use my liner for that. I think I'll use this nice kind of sap green color. Hopefully I have enough water in there. Let's see. Really does look like somebody with like hair. I want to do more. Why not? The plants I wish I could grow. Some of the marks up here. Some scritchy marks. Now, I wonder if I take some of the green crayons and just start kind of coloring some of these little pearls with the wet paper. Let's see. That's kind of neat because it's kind of scraping up the and you can kind of almost graffito and see the, you kind of almost see the color underneath. Like this right here, you're almost scraping the color away. Let's see, let's take some of this darker green. I think this would be better on a paper with more tooth because this hot press paper is pretty slick and it's not letting the crayon grab too well with the wet on wet technique. After it dries it'll be fine, but for this wet on wet technique it's not so hot. I think I'm gonna try some of this blue. Oh, again, I need more texture. Yep, I need to let it dry to get more texture. Or I could gesso over this. I could clear gesso on top and then I could go over with more crayon. I think I'm going to dry this and then I will decide what I want to do next. All right, I did just a little test on one little pearl, and just to see if I liked the way it looked and if I was going to be able to get up the texture I want, and I could. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to do these pearls here like that. I'm not sure about the urn here, but I think I'll be fine without adding gesso. But actually, you know what? Let's do gesso on that. I'm going to show you how that works because I'll do gesso and then that will build up some texture. So this is Liquitex Clear Gesso. I actually buy it in a bigger container and I refill this. And it's got to be the Liquitex brand, in my opinion. I've used other brands and been disappointed. So I'm just going to put that out there. And what I'm going to do, since I only want to do this here, I really only need the texture, I think, on the urn. I'm just going to paint this area. Now, Liquitex Clear Gesso is a product that it's kind of like a primer, but it's kind of porous. It's I've been able to actually use like opaque watercolor or even just like metallic watercolors, things like that, pastel watercolors on top of it. So it's interesting. It's way more porous than other similar products. I tried the Montmartre Clear Gesso and it was too much of a sealer, so I couldn't get like colored pencils to stick on it very well. But I thought I'd try it because it was cheaper and it was sold as like tooth for a colored pencil and stuff, and it just didn't quite do the trick. But the Liquitex stuff definitely works. It's the way to go. I use it for pastel, underpainting, colored pencil, watercolor crayons. It's just wonderful. So anyway, I just want to put that out there and just put a thin coat like that on and let it dry. And it won't take very long to dry. And if you don't get it perfectly, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. And make sure you don't use your watercolor brushes for your gesso. Use like an acrylic painting brush, and then you know, wash your brush out good with soap and water. So that can dry. You could use a heat tool or a hairdryer on it, but you've got to keep it at a distance, otherwise it could blister because it is an acrylic medium. So now I'm going to show you how I'm going to do these pearls. I'm hoping if I zoom in, it won't go out of focus. Sometimes I have some issues with that, but I'll do a couple over here just to show you. So what I'll do is I'll start by picking ones that are kind of in front. I'm going to put like a white highlight. Then I'll go in with like a light green, kind of go around that. Maybe even get the shape of the pearl in there. And do a darker green. And of course you can use different greens if you want. You can use olive greens. I have quite a few whites. I could do one with olive. We'll do one with like an olive color down here. Start with our little highlight. I think I will still use this darker green just to outline it. You could do this with oil pastel even if you're not going to add water over it. It doesn't really matter. You can use oil pastel. Then, but the nice thing about using the watercolor crayon is that you can fix your edges a little bit if they get a little bit funky looking. Got a little yellow ochre on this one even. And if you have to sharpen these, sharpen them into a palette, and then you can save your shavings. So then, if this isn't, if that doesn't seem very sharp, I can use just any of my acrylic paint brushes. Actually, I prefer like a little flat for this. I keep them all in here. This one looks all right. And you don't want much water, just enough to dampen the bristles, and you can kind of go in and smooth it out if you need to. And you don't have to do all of these, just maybe the ones in the front, just to kind of get them to pop a little bit more. And you can always go back in if it's like, oh, I need that a little bit lighter, you can go in and lighten that up. You experiment with different shades of greens and yellows. You'll have fun with it. And then if you find you just don't have enough tooth on that to get that to stick, then you can go ahead and add gesso to it. But I don't think we'll need to. We're just adjusting the greens that we have there, so that should be fine. You could even go in, like if you needed to, like you just weren't getting the definition you wanted, you could go in with a black and outline a bit. But that's up to you. So finish up the pearls, and when we come back, then we can play with the urn a little bit. Okay, I went around and did some stuff to those pearls there. Now I want to go in and add some like an indigo or a Prussian blue or something around the area. I think I will do, let's see, I'm just seeing what I have in this palette. I think I'll do a little bit of like an indigo, and I'm going to try to kind of add a little bit of dark kind of around the contour of those top pearls and kind of push that little plant, the spiky leaves, back a little bit. Just do some little chunky, choppy marks. And then I want to add a little bit of contrast. I'm really taking a lot of a lot of liberties with this. I'm just having fun here. Succulents I think are really fun to give like kind of loose treatment to, because they have such interesting structures. They almost look like they could be like aliens, you know, they're so strange looking sometimes. Now there's a nice warm burnt sienna in that A01 set I'm going to use. I think just kind of throw some little dashes of it. Now, if you have a lot of the watercolor crayon, it may want to resist your watercolor a little bit because it is a wax pastel. I'm going to wipe the extra water off my brush. Okay, I think I'm gonna let that dry, that part dry, and then we can work on the, this feels really, now, can you hear this? You can hear that texture there. So I think that's kind of cool. Now I don't really have anything I'm going by because my little planter here is kind of like just like a faux granite type resin. I'm going to push that back so it doesn't cast a shadow. So basically, I'm just going to wing it. I don't think I want that granite look as much as I want just kind of some rougher texture. Kind of a patina. Well, sadly our salt effect has pretty much gone by the wayside, but you know, that happens. Sometimes you change your mind. Now I think I will, so I got my little palette out here. This is where I sharpen my crayons into. I think I will make a little, oops, don't leave your brushes in the water, Lindsay. Make some yellow ochre. My table is such a mess. I've got stuff for a class that I'm teaching tomorrow night all spread out on the table. I've got this stuff all piled up. It's a fun mess though. This was I have a big section of yellow ochre because I had a crayon just kind of crumble on me once. I'm not sure what exactly happened, but I want to get some kind of drippy. Some drippy effects here. Like an old weathered hot outside would have, just kind of like just kind of, I know I'm just kind of trailing off. Geez, you know, it's kind of like that drippy effect that an old like cement planter left outside would have. Get that white I don't know what it is, just kind of like, is it like a mildew? I don't even know. It's like a oxidation, probably? Top of that is crooked. I'd like some teal like that too. Actually, probably use that color, not some white to it. I always have white shavings because I sharpen the white quite a bit. Maybe a little duller than what I want. But let's give it a try and see. Yeah, it is a little on the dull side. Okay. Want something brighter. This is what I do when I don't really need to sharpen a crayon. I gotta get a bigger palette. I actually have a bigger palette that I'm gonna put my shavings into. That was actually a Novelty Kids palette that I really liked, that I bought. That had some just awful chalky paint in there, but I bought it for the palette, so it's not a big deal. Oh, I'm not getting enough though. Hopefully that's all staying in focus. Sometimes I like to pick up my picture so I can kind of see it straight on. There we go, I like that. The other thing that's nice about the gesso is that it adds durability and strength to the paper. Like if I was doing this on straight paper, I might end up hurting it, you know, like tearing it or pilling it. I'm tempting fate with that. I added some water to some shavings there. I'm just tempting fate right now. But that doesn't spill. I love drawing over the gesso because you get that wonderful scratchy, beautiful texture that's so fun. And let's see, I'll use this chunky piece. Yeah, I let it dry a little bit before I do any more of that, but yeah, okay, I'm liking that urn. We'll have to wait to see how it dries and see how it looks with everything else. And then I think the only thing else I really want to do is refine that plant a little bit. I'm actually going to set this on the floor and hope I don't step on it because I am afraid I'm going to spill that everywhere. All right, let's see. Actually, I think I'll go in here with some white. Oh man, I'm a mess today. I've got so much stuff on my table. Got paintbrushes underneath my board. There's so many interesting colors. They're very muted, but like there's really soft sage greens. There's almost like peachy, corally colors. So many fun colors, and it's a lot of the colors that you would see in the watercolor crayons, which is so much fun. I really enjoy these crayons. These are the Neocolor 2s. I also think the Lyra aqua colors are a really good option. So, I mean, Neocolor 2 is my favorite, but if you live somewhere where they're really expensive compared to the Lyras, I think they're pretty close in price here in America. But you know, if you live somewhere where it's a substantial savings, to go with the Lyras. I've even used the Crayola Portfolio oil pastels, water-soluble oil pastels, and the Mungio water-soluble oil pastels, and had really good luck with those too. I want to get a little bit of that hazy sage color. I think I've used a lot of these greens already. No, I think it's more like that. I don't want to make mud, so what I'm going to do is just kind of try to get in a little slice of color where I can. There's also kind of like a misty lavender blue color, so I'm going to go in with this kind of periwinkle. Maybe even a little bit of this darker. Kind of ground it out a little bit with that. Alright, now for highlights on that, I feel like I need to go in with a little bit of a lighter color. I think maybe I'll do this one. I'm going to sharpen it a little bit though. So these are these little peel tabs on the side, which I noticed they get really stuck down after a while and they get difficult to peel back. But this is how I sharpen them. I'll show you this really quick. And like I said, if you want tutorials just in watercolor crayon, I do have some on my YouTube channel, but I also have a whole course on watercolor crayons, and we use the 30 set of the Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2. You can actually get by with a 15 set if you don't want to get such a large set, or if you already have the 15 set. So, something to think about. These little sharpeners, the 2-hole school sharpeners, I think I got this at Target. I think Dollar Tree has them too. You want to use the big hole and peel back the paper, and then you sharpen into the reservoir here, and then you can pour that into a palette or to, like, pill containers work really well as a palette or a shaving collector, and that way you can use that as a paint later. And it's really handy when you are doing larger washes, or you need to fill in a background or something. Oh, that's showing up so nice over that watercolor that we put. These are the little, this kind of like, these like, I don't know what you call them, just like kind of these spiky little, I don't know if that's in focus or not, but that kind of spiky little plant there. Just layer in some later. If you turn your crayon as you work, you can keep that edge nice and sharp. And it's nice contrast against the darker color that we put in already. A lot of art is just about getting those contrasts. To get those contrast things look so good. Speaking of contrast, I kind of feel like I need some edges defined here and there. You start to fill the tooth, you can feel it because it gets real slick. Don't want to set my hand in there, but it's like, I don't have a place for my hand to go. I like to skip around, so it's kind of tricky not putting your hand in someplace that's wet. And then if you want to do some bright highlights, I'm going to bring my palette back up, I guess, and try not to spill it on anything. I would go in with one of my acrylic paint brushes. These little flats and filberts are really great. That's a filbert because it's kind of like using a round brush, but it has a little more stiffness to it because of the flat ferrule. I'm just going to pick up some of my white shavings from my palette. Like I said, I just sharpen them and pour the keep the shavings. I can go in and give little highlights too. And I can blend them out afterwards. So I find if you're doing something like this, if you work kind of assembly line, it goes a lot quicker. It's kind of fun. And then to soften them, what I would do is just clean my brush, blot it off on a towel. Just soften them. You might have to clean your brush after a while. See how it's starting to like be more bright. Or you could skip around to one that needs a little bit more of that color. I bet everyone's going to watch this on fast forward. I get nervous when I post too many long tutorials in a row on YouTube because it's not what I think people like the long tutorials, but YouTube doesn't like to recommend them because I don't know why. You'd think they would, because you'd think, well, if people are watching a long tutorial and they want to see a long tutorial, oops, I had a blob of water on my brush and didn't notice it, then they would be watching it longer, but they don't like to. Probably because if people watch a bunch of short videos, more ads get seen, so they like that better. I don't know. Who can say? You want some variety, so if you see too many of your little pearls looking similar, go in with another color and kind of adjust some of them. Alright, I think I'm going to use a flat brush and some of that white, do kind of like a little bit of a dry brushing effect. I'm not sure if I have enough on there to do it, but let's see. Oh shoot, went too high with that. Alright, see if I can clean up some of that area when we're too high. Alright, now I do need a little bit more dark over here. I'll go to my flat brush, my watercolor flat, right there, and maybe I'll do the purple. I'll do the turquoise and the rose color. These are great paints. I hope they, hope everyone that's trying to get a set of these gets them. Yeah, get some of that indigo in there too. I actually ran my battery dead. I was been painting so long. All right, so I'm mixing up. Gosh, I feel like I need more of that. I don't want to have to stop and remix in case I don't have enough. So the using the rose. Hopefully we're in focus. I don't know. The indigo and the turquoise. More. There we go. So what I want to do is balance out that purple up there by adding some down here. And also giving a little bit of contrast to the vessel. Definitely feeling that closing in sensation because I've got so much stuff around me supplies wise. Okay, so now I actually want to do a little bit I don't like how harsh that is though. I want to do a little bit more. I think it's that original dark line from the first washes that's bothering me. Maybe I will spatter a little bit there. Let's use this brush and let's do spattering of the rose. Oh, need a little water on there. Use the contrast to help carve out that shape where it's looking a little fuzzy. Sometimes you gotta just touch it with a little water and help guide it where you want it to go. Over on the other side, I don't really know what I want to do, but I do kind of like that purple, so I think I might do something like that over there as well to help balance it. Plus I like getting that purple triad, I think. Getting that bump, bump, bump would be good. So I want to mix up some more. Purple. Maybe go a little higher on the rose on this side where it's maybe a little bit lighter. And then I might come back in and just highlight that edge. Scoop up quite a little bit more paint, not a ton, but I want that line up top extending quite as far. And I think I do want to add a little bit more concentrated color right there, right at the edge. I think that might be, the angle might be a little too stark. I like that little bit of blue poking through though. And I think that did a good job of cross-pollinating those colors. I think I'll just need to highlight the base a little bit more, but I think that's going to be fine. You can really have quite a bit of control, even on these things that look so kind of random. Stand up and I think I would have preferred this with cold pressed paper. That looks a little too abrupt. Okay, I think I'll splash in a little bit of yellow there. I feel like it needs a little touch. So a lot of this is just kind of, you just kind of look and say, what do I feel like it needs? Just getting some yellow ochre. Maybe a little bit of the rose. I'm actually standing up now so I can really look. Oh, I like that little blossom there. Clean that up. Okay. I think I'm going to dry this, and then when we come back, I'm going to put some final highlights probably on the urn. What I'm noticing right now is that that side is larger than that side, so I'll probably bring that out a little bit to make it match that. And also the bottom of that looks a little funky. So let's dry this, and then I'll take a step back, look at it, and when we come back, we'll put our finishing touches on. All right, you know, I'm not sure what I think about this picture, to be honest, but let's finish it up. I need to bring this side out a little bit more, at least on the top. Oh yeah, where's that short little piece? Let's get a little more contrast to that. And the yellow is so nice next to purple because they're complementary colors. So if I get some yellow here on this side, I think it's going to look really good. I don't know. I don't know if I'm really thrilled with how this came out, to be honest. We can be honest here, right? We can be honest. Yeah, I don't think I'm really thrilled with it. Especially with the amount of time that I've spent on it. I don't know. I didn't have much of a plan going in, and I often sometimes, yeah, if I go in without much of a plan, I often am a little disappointed with how it comes out. And sometimes I'm not. Sometimes it's a total awesome surprise, but I'm hoping this is going to be one of those paintings I go back and I look in a few days and it's like, oh, that's awesome. I love it. I like the texture that I'm getting with the crayons, though. And I mean, it was fun. It was fun to do, and it can't be a total loss if you're having a good time. If it's fun, it's not a waste of time. In my opinion, anyway. That's my opinion. Maybe using a little bit of a brighter. This can give it more of a terracotta look. The gesso really does make things fun and exciting. I really intended this to be just straight watercolor, actually. because I hadn't done, well actually no I did a plain watercolor poppies the other day. Just thinking like it's been a while. Do so many different things on your channel, people don't know what to expect. I kind of like this color, adding this color here because it makes it look like a weathered terracotta piece, kind of like a terracotta pot. I keep messing up the shape of that. Like those. I like aggressive marks. I feel like there needs to be a little bit more of floofiness over there. I'm going to use just a little, I actually think I'll take a little filbert if I've got one handy, yeah. I don't want to do too much. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of light green, watery. And maybe try to add some teeny little pearls over here because I feel like it got too big and busy over there and I lost. No, I gotta do a round brush. And I lost the movement and energy that I had over here. So I could have a little bit of just watering in the background. I'm not gonna like bring it up. I'm not gonna bring it to like bring the body to the color like I did there. I liked how loose those were, so I kept them really loose and then they kind of faded into the background as my background got a little more wild and woolly. Oh, that teal color in that one there, so it's not too repetitive. Alright, I think that's a little bit better. The last step, or last thing that I think I might want to add is just some really crisp darks, and I like the real brush pens for this, and any brand is fine. This is the Arteza brand, and I've got this brown here. I'm just going to go in kind of closer to where like the dirt on the pot would be, and I'm going to go in and put some darks in. And hopefully the camera does not go out of focus because I don't want to lay my hand on wet paint. And I love these for working with watercolor crayons because watercolor crayons are opaque and can go really milky. And then it can be really hard to get the really dark values. But like these are like the opposite of that. These are very transparent, so the colors look more vivid and true. So, but like you can see everything underneath. You can see all of this stuff from that you've already put down. You're just being able to like adjust it. Does that make sense? So if I put this over this plant pot even, you're going to see the plant pot color underneath. You're going to see that pearl underneath, even if I outline it and go onto the pearl itself. They're water soluble, so if it gets to be too bold, I can go in there with a brush and I can tone it down. but I can get a little bit of definition, which I think is really helpful, because those crayons just can get a little bit muddy because they're opaque. Right now I'm going to switch to some green. I think I'll go with this kind of olivey green. Wait a minute, let's go with this one here. These are mostly Arteza ones, I think, that I grabbed. Actually, they might all be Arteza ones that I grabbed. I don't really notice a big difference. My favorite, I think, of the brush pens would be the Ohuhu natural brush pens. I like them. They're actually the same as the Color It ones. I don't know if the Color It still makes theirs or not, but it's the same body. And what I like is you can unscrew the back of the pens and like refill them with liquid watercolor if you want. You wouldn't want to put like the Dr. P.H. Martin's Hydrus in there, but you could put in the Radiance or any other that's more like a dye base ink than a pigment base. You don't want to put like a pigment watercolor in these because that's too thick. These are a dye product, so yes, they are not light fast. They'll last a while, but you know, we've got so much stuff underneath it, I really don't think that if these started to fade out, you would notice much. But like if you're doing a total piece with these markers, like a watercolor just with the markers, then they would eventually fade if you displayed them in light, just like Copic marker. But in a mixed media piece here where it's just kind of some final details, I really don't think it would be that big of a deal, because we're just kind of tweaking and adjusting here. We're not doing a heck of a lot. Hopefully that's staying in focus. Just using this to help bring out a little bit of contrast. Great way to define some edges. You can go over the crayons if they're too milky or they need a little shadow or something. But I think that will do it. Maybe just like a little line there, just define that a little bit. It's hard to stop, you know, when you've been playing with a design so long, it can be really difficult to just stop and say it's done. But I am going to say that's done. It was fun. It's not my best work, but I think it was a really fun project. Let's take it off and see how it looks without these clips in the way. Oops, let's wipe up some of our drippy mess before we set that down. It did get a little bit warpy again, but nothing like it was originally. So yeah, ironing it after the watercolor step really was good. I think I'm going to call this done. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give me a thumbs up if you did. And if you're still here, man, what can you comment? If you're still here at the end of this epic, what, 3-hour tour? I don't know how long we've been recording. It's been a while. Go ahead and type the word Patina in the comments so I'll know that you were one of the people that, that stayed to the end. Thanks for watching. Until next time, happy crafting.